Hi, it's Maria Boynton. Thanks for joining me for a continued conversation about representation, especially when it comes to African American women in the judiciary. I have 3 women with me today. Smart women, I must say. How y'all doing?
We're well,
Wonderful.
thank you.
Okay, of course, to my far right, I have Brandi Reeves, who is here. You are Deputy Chief Court Administrator, City of Atlanta Municipal Court.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is that job?
My primary role is to implement and to assist under the leadership of the Chief Judge and Court Administrator standard operating procedures that make access to justice available to everyone and make it efficient and a proficient process for case management.
Okay, we have with us Attorney Tiffani Johnson. How you doing?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm good. I know you've been a staff attorney as of late. So when you say you're a staff attorney, what was that job for?
I manage the civil docket for Fulton County Superior Court.
We also have Ramona Toole here with us today, Deputy DA with the Fulton County's Record Restriction and Diversion Department. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Great. And what do you do in that position?
Well, I actually give individuals a second chance. We have created a diversion program, which is an 18 to 24 month program, where they come in, we teach them skills, we give them opportunity to do community service, they make their victims whole, they take classes, and at the end of the program, I will dismiss their charges and restrict their records.
As I said in the onset of this interview, we're talking about representation, especially when it comes to African American females, when it comes to the judicial system. And quick statistics for you, though there are still very few, the numbers have increased somewhat since 2016, that particular election cycle. As of 2019, 73% of elected prosecutors were white men. Women of color made up only 2% of those elected nationwide, 39 of whom are black women. Now, when we talk about you, Brandi Reeves, why do you think it's important for women to be a part of this particular community?
I think that women have an innate ability to see people and humanize individuals for whom they are. And I think that in that role, because we're mothers, right? We are godparents, we are foster parents, and not that guys aren't, but however, there's some innate ability that God blessed us with to be able to see people, to create dignity in those individuals and see them for who they are. And I think to have us in those positions allows us to exude that and to be able to make better decisions.
Tiffani, let's take it a step further. African American women, why do you think representation is crucial?
African American women have experienced a variety of things, just in general. Our viewpoint, our discretion, the way we see things, because we have those experiences, make us uniquely qualified to answer the call of justice. Being in that position to have experienced certain things because of an African American woman, having children, knowing what they experienced through race and through the judicial system in general, give us the viewpoint to see things and to react to those things in a specific way.
To you, Ramona, too, let's put the two questions together. They answered the question. When you look at African American women, only 2% of prosecutors, what does that say to you?
Well, it first says that there's not enough. I think that there needs to be more African American women in these leadership roles. I think in addition to what the ladies have already said, we have compassion and we have understanding and we see beyond the black and white on a piece of paper. And I think we have that from our experiences, our heritage, our legacy. And I think that that's important because when individuals come in front of a judge, they're more than just that person standing there. And I think African American women, we see that because we see our daughters and we see our sons there. And so we're able to rule with compassion.
Everyone, thanks for joining us. Again, we have Brandi Reeves here with us today, Tiffani Johnson and Ramona Toole. We're talking about representation when it comes to females and it comes to prosecutors, African Americans, why it is critical that you're there. So, Brandi, when you're doing your job, why is it important, do you feel, that when someone sees you walk in and the two of you look alike, why is that important, you feel?
It's comforting, right? Okay. I think that historical nature of the justice system is that they are white males in black robes, right? And I think that when individuals see an African American male or female, but especially an African American female, they feel comforted, like, whew, maybe she'll take up for me. You're right. Mm-hmm. To their point, there's a level of compassion that comes with that, and oftentimes black females, because of our heritage, are very courageous, right? We're willing to fight. We're willing to take a stand based on the history of women's rights and slavery and things of that nature. And I think that when they see one walk in the room, it's like, maybe I have a fighting chance.
So that being said, Tiffani Johnson is here with us, everyone. So Tiffani, that being said, of course, you have one side of, I want to help you. I'm here for you. The representation is obvious. But I also have a job to do. What do you say to those who they look up and say, as Brandi said, it's comforting, yet I'm still here doing my job?
Most definitely. As a prosecutor, as a defense attorney, or even as a judge, they all have a job to do, and they all have to do it well. I think also having that compassion, but also knowing what's at stake. You have people who are a part of the community, and they know what the community needs. They have been in that community. They have worked with those people. They have lived with those people. But they've also fought for the people as well. Whether there's a prosecutor standing with the community and knowing their needs, whether there's a public defender or a criminal defense attorney, you've stood beside those individuals. You worked with them and you built their rapport. You know what their needs are. And as a judge looking at both and having that experience from both sides, you can give way more than most people can with the compassion and with the acknowledgement of what you have to do.
Ramona Toole, Deputy DA, Fulton County, Record Restrictions and Diversion. That department in itself does a lot when it comes to representing others. I mean, when you have your sessions and you have your community meetings, I mean, what do people say to you about, wow, are there many surprises when they see you looking as they look?
There are. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that in 2024, they're still amazed to see a professional African-American woman that's a deputy district attorney. And I hope we get to a point in time where it's not shocking anymore, where it's part of the norm. But I agree, when they see me, particularly when I'm out in the community, they exhale because they feel that finally I have somebody that's going to listen to me, because they believe that previous people who are not a part of the African-American community didn't listen and didn't care. So when they see me, they're like, oh, my God, thank you for being here. And that warms my heart when I see that.
Ramona, let's give them a little bit more of what Record Restrictions and Diversion, what does that department do exactly?
So with the Diversion Unit, one of the things that Madam D.A. Willis said in her campaign the first time was that she wanted to create an opportunity for people with low risk, low needs to come into a program where we teach them the skills that they need to have, require them to do community service, take some classes, reimburse the victims that they harmed, and then do some extracurricular things as well as partner with the Atlanta HVAC corporation. And at the end of it, as I stated, then we will dismiss their charges and restrict their records. That's giving them a second chance. So we allow people with their first or second time arrest come in, and then we give them these opportunities. So this was Madam DA's brainchild when she ran the first time. It was her promise. And as soon as she was sworn in, she had us create this division. Now, with the record restriction, most people know it as expungement. However, in Georgia was never a true expungement state. When you think of expungement, you think of erasing it off your history and it's never to be seen again. But that's never been the case. So what we do is we restrict it from viewing from individuals outside of the criminal justice family. And people, unfortunately, really don't understand that. They feel that it's like a credit report. It's 7 years, it's 10 years, it should have fallen off by now, and that's not the case. And they also don't understand the harm having open pending arrest has. I had a gentleman come to me 2 years ago. He had a 1971 arrest, and he was trying to get it restricted. And I remember saying, why are you trying to get this 1971 arrest restricted? He said because he could not get into a senior citizen living facility because he had an open arrest from 1971. And if he did not get into this facility, he would be homeless. So what we do in the record restriction and diversion majorly impacts people's lives. It gives them second chance, opportunity to get jobs, housing, grants, scholarship. it really gives them that second chance that a lot of them need.
All righty, everyone. Ramona Toole is here along with Tiffani Johnson and Brandi Reeves. So, Brandi, when we talk about what people say to you when you walk in, of course, we know y'all are sharp. Y'all African-American women are so sharp when you walk into, whether it's a courtroom, into an office, whatever setting, you take control of the room. What do they say to you, Brandi? I mean, when they see that, hey, sister, do they say that to you?
Absolutely. Especially after I began a dialogue, they're like, wow, you're a real person. Right.
Okay.
I think that, again, oftentimes, one, to see an African-American lawyer, we've talked about prosecutors, but African-American lawyers, period, across the country, the statistics is very low. Right. And then we're talking about African-American female attorneys. Right. And so then when you see one walk in that talks like you, looks like you, relates to you, then it's like, wow, I can do it too. Right. I coach a mock trial team at Thurl High School and have been the lead attorney coach there for over a decade. And I do it over and over again because I want the young women and young men to see that you can make it too. I graduated from Benjamin Elijah Mays High School, not Thurl, but I want you to know my school was right down the street as well. I went to a HBCU as well. You absolutely have the ability to do so. I was raised by a single father. My mother passed away when I was 9 years old. And so it wasn't by choice, it was by chance. But at the same time, our struggles are similar, right? Are similarly aligned. And so I think to have dialogues with real people, lay people, for lack of a better term, it signifies that anything is possible. Despite what people have told me, I can absolutely do it because I've seen you do it.
All righty. So Tiffani Johnson, we hear Brandi talking about, the background. How important is it, Tiffani Johnson's background, in reference to being an attorney, being a staff attorney, furthering her career?
So I've overcame a lot of obstacles. I came from a single mom, like Brandi. I came from a single mother household. Being able to have that support, knowing her sacrifice, how much she fought for me, it was so important for her that I went to HBCU, that I understood where I came from, that I understood my background. Having people who have that, who have overcome that, who have fought through that, it's so important to have people in positions of power that have that and that understanding. People can look at me and see that, yes, it is possible. People can look at me and see that, even though I've come through all of these things and I've experienced some things and some great challenges, I can overcome and I can deal with anything that comes across my path. It's important that children all around the globe see that and see that example and see women stepping into those challenges and slaying those dragons.
Okay, great. So Ramona Toole, when you talk to the youth of today who might be watching or might be listening, what do you tell them about possibly being where you are?
So I share my story with them to give them hope.
Okay.
For a long time, I was the only child of my parents, and so things were good. And then by the time my sister and brother came along, my dad lost his job, and so we were living, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, the hood. There were things that went on in my household that were not fair or right, and we experiencing things that we should not experience. Mm-hmm. And so despite all of that, my mother was a praying woman. And despite all of that, all three of us are doing very well in our lives. Particularly, I'm an attorney, in one of the greatest counties in the state of Georgia, under one of the greatest DAs that could ever live. And so I tell people my story when they tell me that there's no hope, that they lived in the hood, that they came from poverty. And I tell them my story and I go, anything you want to happen can happen. You just have to believe and you have to push forward. So I use my story as an encouragement because I don't want anybody to feel like because they grew up less than that they can't be what they want to be when they're an adult.
Brandi, what do you tell those who see you and say, I want to be like Brandi one day?
I absolutely tell them keep pushing. That you can be whatever it is that you desire to be, no matter what the obstacles or challenges are. I often tell people, because I have a very vibrant personality, be you, and they will adjust, right? It's important that you are authentic, that you are genuine, so that because people can see that, people understand that, and you will be surprised at how many people have similar experiences. And once you're able to step into your wholeness, step into the person that you are, then people will begin to accept you for who you are. And then all of those challenges will be overcome, because you won't be the first or the last to have experienced whatever this challenge is, right? Whether or not that's single parenthood, whether or not that's teen pregnancy, whether or not that's abusive relationships, right? A lot of people have been through those experiences, and if you keep pushing, you absolutely can be wherever it is that you choose to be.
Keep pushing. So Tiffani Johnson, what do you say?
I tell people to use those vulnerabilities. I think one thing that Brandi Reeves said that is so important is using those experiences and making sure that you use that to push forward. For instance, my mother was robbed at gunpoint, and so that gave me an experience to make me see things from that perspective. I have a family member who has been charged with a crime before, so then I think about them and their experiences. Use those vulnerabilities and push forward. They're very important. Those experiences can be challenges, yes, of course, but they can also be your strengthening tool, and using those to go forward and push. Fight that challenge. Keep going.
Well, ladies, I'd just like to say it has truly been an honor talking with you all today, talking about representation and just talking about what you say to those who aspire to be either a Ramona or a Tiffani or a Brandi. I think that is awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
us.
Thank you.
And everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to yet another edition of Atlanta Up Close. I'm Maria Boynton.